Welcome back. The stimulus showdown deepens. The House will vote on President Biden's $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief bill this Friday. Meanwhile, Republican Senators Mitt Romney and Tom Cotton have unveiled a new proposal that would raise the federal minimum wage to $10 an hour by 2025, instead of the $15 proposal from Democrats. Joining me right now is California Congressman, House Judiciary Committee and Foreign Affairs Committee member Darrell Issa. Congressman, it's wonderful to see you again. Thanks very much for being here. Can you walk us through the debate happening right now, $15 an hour versus now this new plan and proposal from Tom Cotton and Mitt Romney? What do you think?
Well, I think moderates in the Senate have made a decision to do a sensible compromise, one that exceeds the inflation rate that we're dealing with, but doesn't simply artificially provide something that would cripple a lot of the industries that are hurt most by COVID. When you look at the restaurant industry, particularly in California, raising the minimum wage in a state that doesn't even have tip credit, as is known, would essentially further force restaurants either out of business or to curtail the kinds of services people historically enjoy in restaurants.
So what about the stimulus bill, Congressman? I mean, you think the $15 an hour makes it in there? And let's talk about the $1.9 trillion bill, because there's a lot of debate about how much of it is actually focused on COVID. You've got hundreds of millions of dollars on arts, humanities, museums, that Silicon Valley rail car, which I know is a pet project of Nancy Pelosi. I mean, this is supposed to be for victims of COVID and people who were forced to shut down their businesses, and they need help right now. Why are we spending hundreds of millions of dollars on the arts and humanities right now?
Well, I guess that's a great question. The other half of it is, why would you say that less than a third of this $1.9 trillion actually would be the things that we would directly say relate to the COVID? In other words, support for hospitals, support for PPP, getting it out. And the answer is because the Democrats have a massive amount of promises they've made to special interest groups, not the least of which would be the public employee pension programs that represent tens or hundreds of billions of dollars, depending upon the state. My own state finds itself very clearly dependent on about a 15% return on the stock market, or they will crash in their teachers and other retirements on a state level. But again, this is that train that's leaving the station, and they're going to make sure every bit of pork is in it, including for trains. High-speed rail around the country has a whole lot to do with COVID in somebody's mind, and the mind of those who want the money.
Yeah, and they also allocated money to that rail car in the CARES Act. I mean, she's been putting money, earmarking it for the rail car in as many bills as she can. Meanwhile, there's big tech, which continues to drive the bus on all of this. Now we've got former President Trump appealing his suspension on Facebook and Instagram to Facebook's oversight board. In January, you know that Facebook announced they asked the oversight board to review their decision to suspend President Trump's accounts following the Capitol riots. Congressman, your take on the social media censorship. Will we see any regulation? Do the Republicans have any shot of stopping this train from moving forward, this dominance from social media?
You know, the answer in the short run is no. As a matter of fact, Anna Eshoo and other Democrats had what we called in Yiddish chutzpah to call for this station plus other conservative stations to be taken off of cable. And I tweeted last night that if Republicans could do the equivalent, MSNBC and CNN would be gone, and you'd get your hard news, obviously, from the Hallmark Channel. The idea that we need less free speech and less opportunity for people, right or wrong, simply isn't the case. The way you confront fake news, if you will, is to have more news outlets that, in fact, want to be seen appropriately as responsible and honest. This is a station, as you know, where they never hear one side of the issue. You always hear both sides, and that's what we need more of, not less.
Yeah, and we're getting less of it. You know that. Meanwhile, just back to your state for a moment, California Governor Gavin Newsom signed that $7.6 billion stimulus package. It includes payments to undocumented immigrants and low-income Californians. As one of the organizers of the Recall Gavin Newsom campaign says, he's confident the measure will be on the ballots this summer. Congressman, what's your take on the recall effort on Governor Newsom?
Well, I believe that the governor will be successfully recalled. However, do not for a moment think that it's going to be this summer. The Democrats have a lot of tricks up their sleeve. Even though there's over 1.5 million signatures and continuing, in other words, more than what is legally needed, it is pretty clear that they're going to be scrutinized and thrown out in large number by Democrat establishment in California, plus there'll be additional legal challenges. But I do believe in the end the governor is going to face a recall, and if he continues digging a hole, he is certainly going to get deep into a recall.
All right, Congressman, we'll be watching the developments. Good to see you this morning, sir. Thank you. Congressman Darrell Issa.